Hello and welcome to Stir Crazy Art Classes with Gerald Savine, lesson number 27, project number 10. Just to start off with, just going to look at the thing we did last time, filling in the shapes. This is negative space, that's an actually hole between the bits of card, but you can also see the shapes that are being formed. And because my painting was a bit rough, I tidied up a bit, and also I've painted some white lines around. So again, it just really shows up the shapes that are created from negative space. So when you're looking around you, you can put, again, as I said before, you can put two objects together and look at the shape, the space that's created and the shape that they form. And again, look around you, the world around you, see how each object creates a shape between itself and another object. But anyway, to carry on, today we're going to do a painting of the needles from the Isle of Wight. What we'll be doing is I'm going to put a little bit of the Swanage and Poole Harbour in the background, so just make it a little bit more interesting. But again, here we will lay the picture out, put the scaffold in, and then we'll start doing the painting. So we might be over another 2, maybe 3 sessions, but again, help you to get an idea of what we can do with painting water, which we do other times as well. Okay, so I'm going to pop it up there for the moment. Now I've just lightly already drawn out. First of all, you can use a ruler to do this. If you can draw in the horizon, which is where obviously here we're right into the ocean, open sea, and then we've got Peveril Point, Swanage, and I'm just going to be sorry, it's a bit awkward here, and then Ballard's down, and you've got Old Harry Rocks if you know that part of the world, and all the hills going round through to Poole Harbour, and then over through to Poole and Bournemouth coming through over here, and then that's coming through at an angle. These we've put straight. Now coming down here, deliberately where we've got on here the grass, the top of the cliff. I put a bit more of a curve in here, and then coming round here, it helps to hold the picture in and take your eye round. And then you've got the cliffs at the end of the Isle of Wight. So I'm going to do a hard line now so you can see, and again here I'm going to put a hard line in. Now at the end of the day, this line here, as you can see from the picture here, will be grass. We've then got the end of the land here. There's some buildings there, observation buildings. They're probably military from the previous wars. At the end of the land, overlooking the Needles. There's a little bit of a building on top there, and here we've got the greenery broken up here. Can you see here the green? And that indicates the landslips that have been going on. If you know the Isle of Wight, a lot of it's disappearing into the sea these days. I remember it from many, many years ago, and whole areas of the island have disappeared, particularly along the southern side of the Isle of Wight. But again here, just indicating where the green's going to come. And again, hopefully you can see this. I'm doing it strongish, which will obviously show up through the paint. Again, I'm just going to put some lines in here, like sort of towers on that. I won't squiggle it here. We'll do that when I come to actually paint. Then we've got the line of the needles themselves. I don't know if you've seen the programs about the about the needles, but why they haven't disappeared into the sea quite the same way that the island itself is disappearing into the sea. So I'm just sort of getting this little bit of information. Don't press as hard as I am, because you don't really want to. You want to be able to let the paint show through. But again, to help you, I'm making it a bit stronger. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put a boat in the distance, but I'm going to have it going the other way. But I'm not going to put that in yet till I can put it in a sensible position on the sea. And again, at the very end of there, we've got the lighthouse. And if you know that there's a helicopter landing stage on top, so that's why it's got a funny flat roof to it. Okay, so that's, hopefully you can see that. Just strengthen the land line up, so coming around by Boscombe and Bournemouth, and then the other side we've got places like Corfe Castle, and again the end of the land at Swanage, and then again here coming through there, the eye level, where the sea and the sky come together. Now then, we're going to start off with, as ever, also start at the top and work your way down. But here, because we don't want the colours to be bleeding in here, we'll paint the sky first, and then I'll probably paint this area here, then go back to the sea. The colours we're going to be using for the sky, I'm going to, as ever, I'm going to be using, I know some people say other colours, but I'm going to be using cerulean blue for that. I always think it's a nice feeling for the British sky on a nice sunny day. So I don't need too much of that, because you notice again on the painting that the sky is quite thin, quite light. I'm not going to, so as it were, squidge the colour around like I have done before. I'm going to actually take it across. Again, it gives that feeling of that you sometimes get in the sky. But what I'm going to do first of all is, again, unusually for me, is I'm going to put some water on first. Going across. Oops, never mind, no. Oh dear. We shan't win any prizes for this, shall we? You're going to have to excuse me for it in a moment. I'm going to come down there carefully down to the pencil lines. Now, unfortunately, I hadn't washed my brush out very well, and there's a touch of red showing up in it. But anyway, just bring that down there like that. Now then, whilst I don't want it to be too wet, so excuse me a moment, I will... Well, my assistant is getting the palette for me. I'll just show you that again while I was doing that. It's okay, right? It's going to be too messy, I'm afraid. But on the other hand, that's life. And now I've thinned down the blue, and I'm going to bring it across, adding more water to it. And you see how, and we can thin it down a little bit more, bring a bit more colour in places, because you get the sort of things happening with the sky. And I'm just going to gradually bring that down, thinning it down as it comes along, carefully up against where the pencil line is, up and round, pulling it across. So you have that sort of gradually working the colour down, thins it down as it comes along. Now what I'm going to also do, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, when you get a long distance sometimes in the sky and the background coming in, you get a little bit of yellow showing up, right just where the land or the sea and the sky come together. This is a colour you probably won't have unless you do a lot of painting. This is called Naples yellow. So I'm just being a bit cheeky. It might seem a bit odd to add yellow to blue and you think, oh, why doesn't it become green? But it is a colour that does happen if you look, if you be observant, can happen in the far distance. Okay, so now then, whilst that's drying off, I don't like what I've done up there. I'm just going to pull some of this colour a little bit more. There we are. Oh dear, I'm going to spoil it there. Dear, never mind. Right. Now I'm going to start looking at the foreground now here. Now the colours we've got sap green, again in places quite thin, building up. We start off with it being thin and light to start off with, and then we can gradually add more and more pigment to it. There's also, can you notice there's sort of browny colours in there, the dried grass. So we're going to use a bit of raw umber and burnt umber to achieve that. So I'm going to squeeze out some of the green to start off with. I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of raw umber. We don't need very much. It's going to be quite, as you can see from the picture, or you could see in the picture, it's quite thin. And again, the burnt umber in places is thin but gets heavier as well. It's also the colour that we'll be using on the buildings as well that are in the picture. So at this moment in time, we're not worried about the sea. So to start off with, I'm going to get some green going, but again quite thin to start off with, quite watery. And I'm going to start, well again, hopefully if you've got your line here lighter than I've done it, so it just gives you a guide. I'm just going to squish the colour up and down like this to give a grassy effect. Now we can cover, because this is nice and light, we can do most of the backgrounds. One or two places here where we're going to leave it without any green on it, and we'll let the brown raw umber show up more. So we quickly work our way across here, going from side to side, give it a little bit of character to it, so it looks like the grass is sticking up in places. So the grass is in the foreground. The grass in the foreground wants to be more like this. When we get to here, as you'll see in a moment, we'll be a bit more flatter with the colour. But we can then work our colour across. Get a little less detail here because it's further away. I'm going to quickly mix up some more colour. And again, I'm going to work my way across here. A bit more water in that just to bring it down a little bit lighter, a bit thinner. But again, you can see I'm just working the brush up and down, just to give a feeling of the roughness of the grass. So I'm going to let that dry off a little bit. Again, I'm working away very, very quickly. Now, normally, again, originally we did this as a day workshop. We haven't got that amount of time. But you can take time. You see, I'm doing this quickly to show you how to approach it. You can tackle it with a bit more verve, a bit more energy, but take your time. There's no, at the end of the day, there isn't a big rush. You've got plenty of time to do this. But I have a short period to get it going for you. We're going to have about another 5 minutes, and then we'll have a break, and then we'll come back to doing some more again. Yes, all right. Got more. Now here, I'm just going to pick up some colour, and I'm going to go across this way, a little bit more colour into that, and coming across this way. So again, it gives a feeling of the land coming down, the grass, and there is also a path there as well. So I'm going to leave a bit of a line going through here as well, so that we'll make that into a path. Again, at this moment in time, we're putting it. All right, so I think at the moment we're going to have to call it a session, and then we'll come back to it again shortly. Okay. All right, so see you again in the next session, lesson number 28, when we carry on painting.